Boys. Hello, welcome back to the channel. Proudly sponsored by Oddschecker. So this is our preview for the 2000 and 1000 guineas this weekend as we turn our attentions to the flat season. But we are going to do a season review on Tuesday evening, I believe, for the jump season. We're just going to have a bit of a chat about what happened, how everything unfolded, and maybe a little bit of a look towards the following season as well. But in this episode, we are just going to focus on the 2000 and 1000 guineas. As usual, don't forget to check out Oddschecker for all of your prices. Very much worth it as well at this time of year as well. It could be a big difference in a couple of points. Well worth checking us out over on Oddschecker. And you can also find Liam's content there too, using the link in the description below. First off, though, lads, how you doing? Liam, are you okay?
Yes, well, thanks, Joe. Yeah, I've been enjoying Punchestown. I know we're concentrating on the flat, but yeah, Punchestown so far this week has been really good. Galloping was
Oh,
great to
oh.
watch. So yeah, all good, mate. My end.
Yeah, brilliant. That was like we said, we'll have a good chat about that on Tuesday as well, because there is some good racing we need to review. Obviously, there's a little bit today as well. We've got Con Hill running and Yellow Clay, Final Demand, and all the rest of it. Jamie, how are you? You okay?
Wrenn, yeah, really enjoying Punchestown.
Yeah. Or Punchy? Enjoying
It's not called
Punchy?
Punchestown. It's called Punchestown, not Punchy. Punchy.
Okay. Right, this one's probably going to be fairly short and sweet, to be honest, this episode, but that's okay with us. Like I said, we've got loads of good content coming out over the next few weeks. We've also got our first stable tour being recorded on Tuesday with Kevin Philip Defoy. So we'll get a bit of a rundown on some of his runners for the season. I've got loads more of those lined up that myself, Jamie, and Liam will be covering through this season. Right, we're going to start on Saturday though. The 3:35 at Newmarket, the Betfred 2000 guineas over a mile for the Colts. Aidan O'Brien has managed to win 10 renewals of the 2000 guineas. He is trying to bid for an 11th, but he only has the one runner. In the market, we have Field of Gold at 2 to 1 for John Gosden and Kieran Schumacher. We then have Ruling Court, the 2.3 million Breeze Up purchase. We then have Expanded at 7 to 1, Shadow of Light at 7 to 1, Score the Champ at 8, and then we've got some double figure prices for the remainder. Let's just have a quick word on the favourite though, first, gents. Field of Gold, sired by Kingman. He wasn't able to win the 2000 guineas himself. I'm not a massive fan of this horse with regards to a punting aspect in the 2000 guineas. I've got a few reasons for that as well. But Jamie, do you fancy him or are you not with him?
I'm not with him at all, no, Joe. I think he's a 10 furlong to a mile and a half horse going forward by looking the way he runs.
Hmm.
I'm very sick, to be honest with you, that Aidan O'Brien, the winner of this race, has beaten Scope badly during the week. I had an
Yeah.
Ante-Post betting him at 16 to 1.
Oh,
Twain.
Wayne, yeah, that's right.
Absolutely sick, and I think he'd have won easy. I think this is just easy, Joe. I think it's going to go to Godolphin again. I think it's a tip in its head. Buick has picked Ruling Court over Shadow of Light. Shadow of Light beat Expanded in the Dewhurst. We all know the number one in the Dewhurst was the Lion in Winter. I'm going on the race at York last year, the one the Lion Winter, who I think will win the Derby, beat Wimbledon Hawkeye, I'll get that right, and then third was Ruling Court. He then went on then to win the 2000 guineas out Mayland by 6 lengths, like a very, very good horse. Uh, he's had the run. I think he'll win. I think 4 to 1 to find out is massive. Uh, Not 100% strong because I was all over Twain, but Ruling Court for me because he hasn't picked a Dewhurst winner basically.
Sure. Yeah, look, I mean, I fully agree with Rawlin Court, who I'll touch on as well in a minute. I have actually put him at Ante-Post on Oddschecker at 12 to 1, but now it's at least looking good if you can obviously get the job done. Field of Gold, though, Liam. Gosden's never won the 2000 guineas. And I know he did win the Craven, but I would suggest that a few of his rivals underperformed that day and he can be a little bit keen too. I'm with Jamie, and I think a step up and trip may actually bring out a little bit more improvement in him. I know he pulled away from his rivals, but it doesn't look like a flashy turn of foot at the same time, does he? Really?
No, I agree, and I think it'll be a common theme this weekend, obviously in both Guineas races, with regards to having short price favourites, of which
Yeah.
neither the trainer who trains them has ever won either of those
Oh
races.
yeah, of course. Yeah,
So
sure.
the same for Charlie Appleby, which I'm sure we'll get onto, Joe. So I won't jump ahead, but I think the thing he probably does have in his favour, by all accounts, he looked like he'd just come back from a 2 week all inclusive. Apparently, he was pretty big, like in the pre-parade ring.
Sure,
So
sure.
you think that he potentially could come on a fair bit for that run. This race did have my head wrecked a little bit. I think from a kind of emotive standpoint, which you certainly can't bet from, but to see Kieran Schumacher have a nice winner in a big race like this would be quite nice. I think, given a lot all the flack that he had last season. But no, I ended up consulting some of the trends, Joe, to be honest, to try and narrow down the field. So 9 of the last 12 winners were not the favourites. Obviously, only 3 of the last 12 went off Fav. 12 of the last 12 had at least 3 flat runs. That rules out Expanded and Tornado Alert. 12 of the last 12 had at least 2 flat wins. That rules out Wimbledon Hawkeye, Yamobi there, and Seagulls 11.
Yep.
9 of the last 12 won last time out. That rules out Benevento. 10 of the last 12 won at least one Group 1, 2 or 3 race. Sorry, Joe, that rules out Ruling Court.
Oh, no.
And 7 of the last 12 had at least one previous run at Newmarket, which rules out Green Impact and Scorthy Champ. So that leaves you a Shadow of Light. This game's easy.
That your selection, is it, Liam?
I don't think so, no. Perhaps for people who do like trends, Joe, maybe that'll be a little bit useful for them. I just thought some of them were interested, and how could I narrow down the field to try and find one? But no, I'd use potentially these as a guide into the race.
Yeah.
It's got my head wrecked a little bit, if I'm honest.
Yeah, that's fair enough. That's more than okay. I'm not a massive fan of Shadow like myself. I know he beat Expanded over 7 furlongs. I'd probably suggest Expanded was a little bit unlucky that day, and he has mainly raced over 6 furlongs. So I'm not convinced that Shadow of Light is actually a miler. I also think, like Jamie said, Expanded, this is a little bit of an afterthought now, just because obviously Twain isn't running here. Expanded doesn't look the likely winner to me either, so I'd probably rule the pair out. But look, I'm a big fan of Ruling Court here. He's a justified colt. He was obviously, an outstanding US Triple Crown winner. But Ruling Court won over 7 furlongs, quickened off a slow pace. He then was third, over 7 furlongs to the Lion and Winter, like Jamie said, who I also fancy for the Derby too. But then he stepped up to a mile last time out of Dalmar, and he was just awesome. He was just electric. Speed, stamina. He just seems to have it all. And like the fact Jamie said, the fact that Buick is willing to ride him over Shadow of Light is almost a little bit of a tip in itself. So,
sorry, Joe, I was going to say, would also the fact, how would you two be analysing horses coming in here off the back of a run or not having a run? Would you be favouring one or the other?
Yeah, I mean, look, fitness is always obviously going to feel like a positive because you know they're at peak fitness. But look, Field of Gold, he's had a run, but if you just look at some of the others, they are probably going to be quite ready for this. It's just the way it goes. But I do like a bit of fitness. So I don't know what you think, Jane.
It seemed it hasn't worked, Liam, for the last couple of years with O'Brien horses. Look at City of Troy. Who's the other one that bombed out the year before? Auguste Rodin. He's not. Put it this way, he's been unlucky, but it hasn't worked out in the last couple of years from before it did. The likes of, you're going back years ago, George Washington, Footsteps in the Sand, and all these type of horses played a couple of years ago.
Washington.
But he doesn't seem to target it anymore, Liam. I've noticed that in the last couple of years. It's kind of a prep, but I think he's just unlucky. He doesn't have a cold Barb Twain, I think, this year. That miler, I don't think Expanded is really going to be a top notcher. Maybe
we certainly haven't heard anything talked up anywhere near as much as we did City of Troy and August Road down the last couple of years.
Exactly.
Sometimes that could happen. You never know. He could be changed and code from 2 to 3, and he'll bolt up tomorrow, make a fool out of all of us, and we'll say O'Brien's the greatest trainer again. But no, he couldn't be for me. And I think it's a stepping stone to the season for O'Brien now. You look at Expanded there. If he bombs out this, he could be like a Jersey horse or something like that. That's got great training.
Yeah, sure. He did well to win like under pressure, didn't he? But again, he has to find more than what
I like the run. I like the run, and especially now they look like everything went out the window last year with notable speeches, and then he went 3 all-weather races and then wins the Guineas. So yeah, I like the run now. You need the run, but sometimes the trials as well are like, you look at the Greenham. There's none of the Greenham form here. They're all going to France. So it's and was it Field of Gold as the Craven form? Sometimes those trials don't mean nothing either. Do you know what I mean? They don't. For from years of experience of the Guineas, the winners and non-winners that I've backed and made fool of me. But yeah, it's just that it's Buick's pick really like over a Dewar. Normally you'd be on a Dewhurst winner all day if you were in the Guineas the following year. But I think the run at Maydam is superb, and he loves the ground.
Perfect. Obviously, it feeds into what you guys are saying as well about Field of Gold, because they went quick, didn't they, in the Craven? So potentially that lent itself to a little bit more stamina. And if they don't go as quick in this, then perhaps he like you're saying, he'll struggle at the trip.
Wimbledon Hawkeye, I don't think is good enough to win this, but for those that just like to find place money, he will love the ground. He might outrun his odds. He's about 25-1. Probably on the basis that he's got a little bit to find with Field of Gold, but he's not an unforlorn hope at the same time. Any love for Scordy Champ at all? Form of that race is working out really well. Finds for pressure. Looks like a miler, and he has beat Henri Matisse over 7 furlongs at the same time too. I just worry if he's not quite classy enough, but I still think he'll run a good enough race to find himself in the top 3 or 4.
Did like what Joseph said about him yesterday when he was interviewed at Punchestown.
What did he say?
He said that he's not fully, he's grown, but there's still more to work on. Now, sometimes that could be a load of whatever.
Sure.
Yeah, he reversed the form on Henri Matisse in the National Stakes or something, isn't it?
Yep.
Hot to Hell then went on to win the old, I'll always call it the 2-year-old Racing Post Trophy at Doncaster after. They look stairs though, Joe. They look like look at Hot to Hell. Looks a soft ground 1.5 horse for the Curragh or the Derby for Harrington. So he'd be more stair. I think he'd struggle to keep up Scorty Champ, but he's definitely a horse to follow down the line in 1.5 races in the end of the year. But is he top class?
Well, that's the thing, isn't it? That's the thing. Is he top
Henri
class?
Matisse looks a sprinter.
Yeah, I like Henri Matisse though. I think that's maybe where I'm getting a little bit biased towards. I think he'll stay on well. Whether he's good enough to win or not, I don't know.
If Henri Matisse would be a fine horse if he gets rid of the greenness, because he gets there and then his head goes, he starts going.
Yeah, he just wanders a bit, doesn't he? All the time.
If he irons that out, he'd be a fine horse. Yeah.
He was mustard when he went to America, didn't he? Over at the Breeders' Cup.
He's probably a Commonwealth Cup horse.
Yeah, possibly so. Green Impact's a little bit interesting. Jesse Harrington, 16-1, good winner at Leopardstown, but probably looks more like a Derby horse. Stable form's probably a bit of a worry as well, Liam, isn't it? 0 from 29.
Yeah,
serious.
No, I'd be in complete agreement, Joe. Yeah, one of the first ones that I'd be kind of striking a little bit of a line through. But again, as I say, I can't really give much of a concrete opinion just because I'd probably need to have a third and fourth look at the race again, mate, really to form a solid opinion. But no, I think you're more than you make more than a fair point there, especially with the trainer form.
Yeah, sure. Well, look, for me, the box ticker absolutely here is Ruling Court. I think he should be favourite. I really, really do. He's by Justify, obviously responsible for City of Troy, Opera Singer, loads of really good horses. This horse has got speed, stamina, will love the ground, seemingly improving every time. Buick in the saddle. I really do fancy Ruling Court quite strongly tomorrow. Jamie, who's your selection then? Ruling Court.
Ruling Court, yeah.
Liam?
I'll join you then. Let's make it the hat trick. Ruling Court.
Easy game.
We're all agreeing.
Easy game. Ruling Court then we think wins the 2,000 guineas. We'll go on to the Betfred 1,000 guineas now. Aidan O'Brien looking for an 8th winner in the race. But we have Desert Flower at even money, Lake Victoria 7-2, Red Letter at 5-1, and then pretty much any price you like for the remainder. Again, we'll just touch on the favourite here. Desert Flower, 4 out of 4. Flawless profile so far. Won the Fillies Mile on her final start by 5 lengths, just pull clear. And that 5-length distance seemingly came in the final furlong as well. Course and distance winner by Night of Thunder, who also won the 2,000 guineas. Very, very good profile on this filly. Not much to not like about Desert Flower. Perhaps the even money figure price, though, is probably the only thing you wouldn't like here. Liam, would that be right, really?
Yeah, I think that's fair enough. Obviously, she's got the course form, hasn't she? She was the winner of, as you mentioned, the Fillies Mile. She was very impressive that day. She's potentially a little bit more of a stayer in time, I think. And the only other cause for concern possibly is, again, similar to Gosden with Field of Gold, the fact that Charlie Appleby's never won this race, although Godolphin have. but also he's come out and made comments about the fact that it's been quite difficult to get her so forward for so early in the season. Now, maybe that's also a trait of Charlie Appleby's training operation, hence why he hasn't had success in the past. So those would kind of be red flags to me, especially at even money. And you know me, Joe, if there's an opportunity to take something on at a short price, then generally I'll try and get it beat. So it wouldn't be for me at even money.
Yeah, fair enough. That's fair. Look, I can't argue with that. Ticks a lot of boxes, but has some questions still, I suggest would be the way to look at her. Right, God, backwards. Jaime, Desert Flower. Is she the right favourite? Is even money a fair price? Should she be a little bit bigger? I mean, the profile's solid as a rock, isn't it? But
solid as a rock, yeah. She's actually £2 rated, actually £2 lower than Lake Victoria, which I don't get. And her top speed is far superior than Lake Victoria. Now, look, I know Lake Victoria won on firm ground at Del Mar in the juvenile sprint, whatever, turf, Philly juvenile, whatever, how many turf races they have and dirt races, whatever, over in America. Yeah, I suppose one on debut over course and distance, or the July course, really. Want to get at a novice race, isn't it? 1 to 4 in July course. Doncaster winning the Mayhill, I think, Joe, that really impressed me more than winning the Fillies Mile, beating January by 5 lengths. I think it's where she kind of got into a little bit of trouble on the outside. Flight took it up, and then all of a sudden, then January took it up. But then it's just she used her speed to get there, and then there was another kick after that, and that's what says to me, good horse. Even when she's in trouble, she'll get herself out of trouble. I'm not in love with the form of the Cheveley Park form of Lake Victoria last year, beating Daylight. He was beaten on debut, can't win races. And the third horse, I can't remember the name of the horse in the Middle Park, hasn't won as well. I get the name of it there, but I've lost it in my train of thought. But it's a tough one. It's a toss of a coin. Some people think it will be a toss of a coin, but it's just the way she won the Mayhill more than the Fillies Mile impressed me more, even though she obviously won like a very good horse in the Fillies Mile. But she's very short. I understand that. It might be not everyone's cup of tea. But I think a lot of people will do the double, Field of Gold, and
people will play it, won't they? People
play it like that, yeah. But I have slight preference for her compared to Lake Victoria, because that Cheveley Park form isn't great compared to the Fillies Mile and the way she won in the Mayhill at Doncaster.
It's a slight concern as well that Aidan O'Brien said it's been I quote, a race to get Lake Victoria fit for this as well.
Mm-hmm. Then she's just prepping him. He's just prepping herself for an Oaks.
Sure,
is another thing after being the Cheveley Park winner. That's another thing.
The counter argument, I suppose, is that she is a 3-time Group 1 winner, and Aidan probably wouldn't run her unless she was pretty ready to go at the same time.
Arabian Dusk was the name of the horse. That was stuff last night at transfer, and I backed the winner, Lady of the Lamp.
I mean, that doesn't look good, does it? Really?
No.
Side of things. But look, Lake Victoria's a Frankel filly. I know she won over a mile at Dalmar, but it's a very easy sort of mile. It doesn't require too much sort of speed and stamina. I think she'll get better the further she goes, though. She's won over 6 furlongs, 7 furlongs, and a mile. I can't make my mind up between the pair at the moment. The even money price tag on Desert Flowers just putting me off. I don't feel necessarily strong enough to back her possibly at that price. But when you look down the field a little bit here, there's not too many that I'd want to take her on with at the same time. Because Red Letter's interesting here, another Frankel filly. But it's interesting with her because even though she won over 7 furlongs, Jer Lyon said he was umming and ahhing whether to run her here, because if she doesn't stay the mile, then he's going to drop her back and run in sprints. That's a massive concern for me for what she must be showing at home. And the 5-1 is dreadfully short for a horse that you're not sure whether she will stay the trip or not. The Frankel sire would suggest in her pedigree that she'll stay no problem, but Jer Lyons has obviously been doing plenty of work with her at home, and if he's concerned about it and already talking about dropping her back to sprint trips, I mean, you've got to sort of pay attention to that, Liam, really, don't you?
Yeah, no, I'd completely agree. Just going back, Joe, to Aidan O'Brien, I was speaking to my dad prior to the kind of flat getting underway, and we are absolutely adamant that we came across some sort of statistic about Aidan running horses at short prices over in the UK last year, and essentially would have made an absolute killing by laying them.
Oh, wow.
So we went round, scaled the internet to try and find what the statistic was to apply that logic and that system for this year. I am so happy we didn't find it because he's on a 38% strike rate and absolutely banging him in. So I'd be potless now. So it's a good job I didn't find that. If someone is going to ready one after 180 odd days off the track, it is going to be him, isn't
That's
it?
the thing, isn't it? Yeah.
You mentioned about further down the market. You both might call me an absolute madman, but
I have one, so I hope we land on the same one.
Okay. Well, mine starts with an S and ends in Immering.
No, mine starts with an E and ends in teen.
I just thought potentially, I know that Simmering's form fell off a bit of a cliff towards the back end of last season. She went off the boil slightly, but she had decent form on good to firm. Obviously, with all this sunshine around, you know that the ground's going to be pretty quick come the weekend. She had some decent form in France. She finished in front of Bedtime Story, perhaps was another one who disappointed towards the back end of last season. But I was keen on her kind of early markets for this race. I just think potentially we haven't seen everything from her. She was obviously just 1.25 lengths behind Lake Victoria in the Moyglare. And Ollie Sangster's operating at the moment at a 22% strike rate, so he's going quite well. I just thought at 50s, she was potentially worth a couple of quid each way, and I think she'll definitely come on for a run last time out because she was massive. By all accounts, she has so much more conditioning to be done with her. So I think she'll strip much fitter, and I just thought potentially she could outrun her odds in what's not a huge field.
Ante-Post Angle with the 50-1 each way selection there with Simmering. And of course, Liam, she was maybe 2 lengths behind Zaragana in Longchamp, the horse that you obviously, I know, quite like for something a little bit further down the line. So the form could stack up nicely. There's one I like here as well at a bigger price called Alwatine for Saeed Bin Suror and Shadwell, which is an interesting combination at 33-1. She's a bit of a fascinating contender to me. She's only ran once so far, and she did get the job done, but she was headed at the furlong pole, maybe went 3/4 of a length back, and then found plenty, picked up like nothing else, and managed to get her head back in front and looked like she was going to win going away. That was over 7 furlongs. I think she will stay the mile trip as well. And even though she's only had one run, she is possibly in like the could be anything bracket I suggested at that time. So, but look, I am going to take a chance on Lake Victoria, I would say here. I'm going to give Aidan O'Brien the benefit of the doubt. I know, like we said, it's been a race to get her ready. She is going to have to prove she stays a mile at Newmarket, though. That is the concern. But I will take the 7-2 rather than back Desert Flower at even money. Simmering each way for Liam. And it sounds like, so are you going with Desert Flower here, Jamie? Think she just gets it done?
Mm-hmm.
And that'll be the 1, 2, 3 then. We'll take that. Happy days. Right, okay, so short and sweet, there is our preview for the 2,000 and 1,000 guineas. We will touch on what's happened at Punchestown in our season review. But lads, anything else for the weekend? James, I know you sort of interested in a few at Punchestown, aren't you?
Quickly there, I suppose we'll try to make the money back in the Hunter's Chase tomorrow in the first, with Stealthy Tom, hopefully, in the first tomorrow.
Oh, that pained me, that did.
That pained me as well.
And then unseated.
In the Pat Taft, the handicap chase, I really like a horse. It's unexposed. Look, Canal End will be the favourite. I think might be outpaced on the better ground. It took an age to get going in Evan. It would have won a big handicap in Evan. It was always going to have its day, but I think it'll get outpaced. So Majestic Force for the Bromhead.
You mentioned this mare a few times.
Off 10 stone 2. Second to obviously the Grade 1 winning Spindleberry. Bombed out at a mare's list, but that was soft, heavy ground, and she didn't like it. Then she won at Wexford the last day by 1.5 on good to yielding ground. Good in the ground is key to this horse. She's a mare, obviously. I think she's a mare. But anyway,
she is,
yeah. It's 10 stone 2 to find out on her handicap debut in a big pot for that connections. They'll go for it, and I think it has a massive chance, whatever price comes out each way. And obviously, we let the drum roll for the 525 loaders of Nace handicap hurdle. We're going to take on Mazzy Jatty. There's 2 in here, all jokes aside, Joe. Obviously, one is obvious, and surely to God, on good ground, there's a big, big handicap in the company Sergeant, who I backed at Cheltenham where one on good ground in Galway, right-handed in the summer. And it's key to this big field, good ground. It's technically up £5 from the race that was third in the handicap harder than Navan, but that was just a prep run, really for Cheltenham.
So yeah,
I think it has a chance, and it will give you a run for money. Company stars will give you a run for money. And the second one will be on Raglan Road, who was third behind Wood Hugh in the Martin Pipe, ran well from very far back. And look what Wood Hugh has done. Second, obviously, to last him out in the Aintree Hurdle. They're the two I'd take on Jazzy Matty with, but we leave Liam think. See what Jazzy Matty win.
yeah, that's it. I mean, look, you've got a bit of a love affair with Jazzy Matty, haven't you? Really, Liam. Do you fancy his chances this weekend too?
Um, I do, just given the fact that he's £70 lower on his hurdle mark, and it's not as if you do look back to that Boodles, and it's not the greatest field that he has won that Boodles in, but he still managed to do it on the most competitive stage of the season. I do really like Raglan Road in here. He was one that was in my tracker that I left alone. Perhaps should have tipped and punted myself in the Martin Pipe, because I think he was sent off a massive price, 40s, 50s perhaps.
80 to 100 to 1 in the morning, wasn't he?
He would, yeah.
I think one of the lads who were inside with us, he backed him in 80 to 1.
Yeah, it's a huge price. So yeah, in hindsight, that would have been a nice each way return. But so yeah, I'm extremely keen on him, especially with Mark Walsh jocked up. I just think potentially this is just a little bit more competitive, and although he is forever in my heart, he's paid my deposit for my wedding. That's how significant he's played a part in my life. So
Sure.
But you've got to separate that attachment when you're parting with your cash. So I probably will back him, but to what extent, I don't know.
Yeah, it's like I was saying, sort of like the other day. I can't remember where I said it, but I haven't got cliff horses. I'm good at being disciplined and keeping away. But like when Marine runs,
Look, Liam, you'll get used to this when you're with us. He can't go an episode without saying Marine.
he has to get a mention.
He'd be worse than the other fella now singing the song in a minute.
If I
Marine National.
yeah, no, that song's gone. We'll have to find the new one. If I haven't mentioned it, I'll always mention it into the outro. You've got to get a mention somewhere.
Absolutely.
But I'm the same, and that's a bit like you there, Liam, with Jazzy Matty. I'm not surprised you want to get involved. But anything else, lads, or is it that just nice, short and sweet for today?
All good.
Yeah, I think that's it. The Goffers entered up again and declared, but I think I'm going to have to part company with him. He's on a really, really good handicap mark, but I'm also just not sure how genuine he is and if he really just want to go past. But I think that cross country affair will be a good race actually.
I like these cross country races. I do. I haven't got a problem with them at all. I was all, like I said, I was all over Stealthy Tom yesterday. He was pretty much my only bet of the day as well.
Yeah.
I quite like these cross country races. Anyway, right, we'll keep it there then. Everyone, thank you very much for tuning in. If you can like and subscribe to the channel, it's completely free to do, shows us a little bit of a support and gets our content out there to a wider audience. Loads of comments for the latest episode, welcoming Liam, thanking Jaime for the insight, etc. Keep them coming. As you can see, I always come back and speak to you all. I really do enjoy it. Might as well give another shout out to Michael Marsh listening in and commenting every single episode. Michael, we appreciate you a lot. Thank you very much. Jaime, as always, can't do this without you, brother. I'd like to thank you every time because I mean it. I really do appreciate you being here. Liam, great to have you on for the second episode of your Ginger Joe Racing Show career. And we will be back on Tuesday with our season review. Thanks, everyone. Don't forget this episode is sponsored by Oddschecker, and we'll see you on Tuesday evening.